And what gets students stuck on example 3 is they look at their formula sheet, and their formula sheet has Tn equals T1 plus D times n minus 1. And the question says, find term 1, but we run into a problem because I know two terms, so I could put term 4 and 4 in for n, or I could put term 7 and 7 in for n, but I don't know D. So what I do know is I know this. This is what my sequence looks like. I know term 4. Don't know term 5. I don't know term 6. I know term 7. This is what my sequence looks like right now. I want to find term 1. But right now, all I know is term 4 and term 7. So I can't use my formula because I don't know D. So that tells me I probably need to find D first. And I'm going to show you two different methods for finding D, and you can decide which one you like better. Okay? But some people like method 1 better, some people like method 2 better. So here in purple, I'm going to do method 1. The idea of method 1 is we could use the formula if we knew a term 1. And so we temporarily make term 4 equal to a term 1. So I'm going to pretend this was term 1. If I did that, does that make sense that I would have to pretend this was term 4? If I do that, I can use a formula. Right? I can decide, hey, in my formula, if I use n equals 4, here's my formula, Tn equals T1 plus Dn minus 1. I temporarily made term 7 into term 4, so term 4 would be 23. Term 1 is negative 4. If I think of that as term 1 and that as term 4, then I can use my formula. And I can plug everything in, and the only thing I don't know is D. So I can add 4 to both sides, and this will be 3 times D. Then divide both sides by 3, and get D is equal to 9. Let's do a check if 9 actually works. If D is 9, do you see that you'd have to add 9 to this and you would get 5? If you added 9 to 5, you would get 14. If I add 9 to 14, do I get 23? Yes. Perfect. Can you see that you could use this to find term 1? I could go backwards and subtract 9. Go backwards again, subtract 9 again. Go backwards again and subtract 9 again. And now I have term 1 equals negative 31. Does that make sense as a way that you could find term 1? Where might we not like to use this method? Well, I could give you the same question, but say term 400 and term 403. Then I don't think you'd want to go back by 9s 399 times. That might be really annoying. So another way that you can find term 1 we could also find term 1 by using the actual formula. Here's the formula. We want to find term 1, but now we know D, and we know actual terms in the sequence. So again, you could use either 4 or 7. Let's say I use 7 this time. What is the actual term 7? The actual term 7 was 23. I don't know term 1. I know that D is 9, and if I'm using term 7, then the N would be 7. 7 minus 1. You see how I replaced T7 with the actual T7, which was 23. So that's why the purple part was temporary. Because now we're going back to our regular formula. And this would be 20, oops, stay black. 23 equals term 1 plus 9 times 6 is 54. And if I subtract, oops, equal sign there. And now to get term 1 by itself, you see that you'd have to subtract 54 on both sides. And I get the same one that I did when I subtracted. So this is method 1. I'm going to scroll back up to draw a line here. I'll do method 2 in green. I'm just going to rewrite that we knew term 4 was minus 4, and we knew term 7 was 23. Method 2 doesn't use a formula at the beginning. Method 2 just uses some logic and makes its own equation. The logic that method 2 says, well, if I was starting at -4, I would have to add D once to get to that space. I would have to add D again to get to that space. And then I would have to add D again, and I would get to 23. So how can I write an equation with that? Well, that means if I start with -4 and I add D 3 times, what will I get to? I will get to 23. So this is using logic, no formulas. Some people don't like this because they're like, oh, I have a formula, I want to use it. Okay? In this case, we need to solve for D, so I move the 4 over. I get D is equal to 9, just like I got D is equal to 9 in the purple method. Then both the green method and the purple method, the next step is to find term 1, which you could either use the formula or work backwards like we did at the beginning. So we have 2 options there as well. Okay? So method 2 is kind of nice because you don't have to like temporarily mix things up. And temporarily change things around might cause you to get confused later on because you change things around. Method 2 just says, hey, logically, I have 3 jumps to go from term 4 to term 7. So I can write that out. -4 plus 3 jumps of D will get me to 23. That lets me solve for D. Having more than one method is sometimes nice, because you're going to get into, when you get into higher level math, sometimes one method works really nice in one situation, but another method works really nice in another situation. So having both methods is good. But right now, I want you to look at both those methods and say, which one do you like better? Do you like using the formula right away? Or do you like using the sort of the logical equation that you can make up based on the situation? Then at the top of the question here, you can write down the numbers 10 and 13. And then go to your homework and actually circle the number 10 and circle the number 13.